Hello again, friends. So this is video 2, and I hope that you are listening to this after having listened to the first video. So just a bit of context. I'm Boitumelo Mnisi, founder of Octoberlily Wellness and the voice behind the How Are You guided meditation series. So these videos are with the intention to share my key learnings from the past 8 weeks of having recorded and shared the How Are You guided meditation series offering. So this is video 2. So the videos and the sharing will be broken down into different parts, just so that the essence of each is lands as intended, right? So with this particular video, I'm going to share learnings about the different medium platforms that I interacted with. I'll share my takeouts from the Sunday mornings that I spent with the 938 radio station, and then close off with the contextual considerations that I think the Gen Z community may, require in terms of how we package meditations for them. So this has been one of the biggest takeouts for me. So let's start with the different platforms. So this one has honestly just been wah, just learning how to interact with the different platforms and understanding how each platform holds its own energy, its own rhythm, and how people and the audience receive presence in those areas. So I'll start with YouTube. YouTube has the language of how it values consistency. So I've learned that I go to YouTube ready to listen and to settle down. It doesn't matter how long or short a video or a meditation, for argument's sake, is. I go there to just, consume whatever it is that's of interest to me, and I'm ready to listen through it and settle in it. So here I learn how to just let the meditations just breathe with no rushing, and with just allowing them to just flow and be coded there to make easy sense for the brain and the mind of the person that's seeing. Okay, so why does it look like we have two different meditations with one theme? Oh, okay, so I can see that this one is short, this one is long, and I just let it live there, right? And then with Instagram has a thing about intentionality and aesthetics. So this platform here, I'd say it distilled the need for having depth for each of the meditations, broken into bite-sized truths for people to mull on. So what I'm essentially getting at is that with Instagram, one had to consider small doses of depth to allow for a deep reflection that can linger longer after scrolling. Because with Instagram, you're scrolling through, and when something catches your attention you sit there, you listen, and sometimes you don't have the 10 or 20 minutes. But whatever it is, the little bit that you've listened to lingers in your mind and your heart, and you will try to find a way to make time to go back and revisit whatever it is that caught your attention. So here it was just depth of each of the meditation, just breaking them into a bite-sized truths for people to ponder on. And then our Facebook, the village. Here I felt the community energy, even in the silence. The most views were here. So I ran some stats, and then the most views were on here. I think that was not even the focus, but you notice it. I noticed it. And what I learned here and I noticed was, I know for sure that storytelling and dialogue still matter deeply to most of us, and we value community energy. So I don't know how that sprung to me, but you can feel the depth of how the community there still yearns for connection and storytelling and dialogue, right? And then the other mediums where I had, so this would be like the platforms like Canva and recording platforms, etc., and editorial platforms. So this is where visuals, voice, and voice would meet. Visual, voice, volume would meet. Honestly, here sometimes I just wanted to hide behind my voice, behind the music. And part of my quality checks was to have my husband also help me with the control process. So I would send a draft of the meditations here to him, and the volume of the music will be much higher than my voice would be, and he'd be like, you need to bring the voice up here, we can't hear you. And I would want to cry at times, because hearing myself so closely, so intimately, oh my God. So yeah, and I think it's a different video here where I'm going to talk about this, what I mean really when I say I'm learning to talk, all its variations, and I'm learning to live in my voice. And so these platforms where the visuals, voice, and volume would meet, here I learned a lot about coherence and having to always have in mind the true intention of what you're trying to create and put out. And this is where my nervous system, my regulation and dysregulation through the creative process suffered so much. It's not me even suffering, but there was so much of the regulation, dysregulation that happened here, because then it's almost the final step to put out the meditations. But yeah, this was no child's play for me. I think I'll just plug into these 4 areas for me in terms of the platforms that I interacted with. So each platform for me became my inner guide and my teacher. And the larger message and learning and through line here for me was the importance of presence and true intention. Because all of that translates into energy, authenticity, and honesty, right? Yeah, I think I'll leave it there when it comes to those platforms. And let's move to my Sunday mornings with the 938 radio. So this is another space that stretched and expanded me in the most beautiful and scary ways. So for those who are not aware, so the meditation series were in 2 folds. So on Mondays there'd be long forms that just lives on all the platforms, and then on Sundays mornings, so there'd be a shorter version of the Monday meditations, and that would play on radio just roughly around 9:30 to around 9:40. So those would play there. But before the meditation plays, I'd be in conversation with the breakfast team pre and post the meditations. Every conversation there felt like a meditation on its own, because this is where I had to practice true and honest presence. I had to learn how to listen to my own voice as I speak and hear myself deeply. And I had to trust my voice. And I also had to find a way to forgive and silence that voice that says, no, that wasn't good enough. You should have said this too. So to be invited week after week to reflect out loud and hold space on air has been a gift and a challenge. And so there's about 5 elements here that I want to highlight. So I have a lot of gratitude. I'm filled with so much gratitude to have been held so gently by the team, because I think prior to our initial first meditation, I'd spoken to Marion, one of the presenters, and I told her about this journey of mine where I've not said too much as I should have, as in my childhood and even in my adult life, right? And this is going to be, it was scary for me to be on radio, to talk and have immediate thoughts and reflections have to come out and slip out of my tongue. So that was because I don't have time to think, right? So I shared that with her prior. So I'm deeply grateful for having been held so gently, the patience, the professionalism and the warmth that the team created for me. It gave me space to grow and experiment and also find rhythm and forgiveness for myself and much more compassion. And then growth-wise, radio has a way of sharpening one's mind, and I found myself here feeling like my mind had to liven up, almost like immediacy in terms of response, because I am a very contemplative person. So when you grow up as an observer and a quiet child, a wallflower almost, you're in your head quite a lot. Your sense of contemplation, it's almost like my feminine energy has been so much more active than my masculine, where it's like logic, quick thinking. So with being contemplative, is that what radio showed me and taught me was to think on my feet, to listen with my whole being, and to respond with care but clarity. So here, my growth it expanded how I think, how I translate my stillness into words to reach people clearly in their hearts. And because you don't get immediate feedback from, you're speaking into a vacuum, although you're speaking to the presenters, but the message here largely is we're not doing it for us. We're just conduiting message to a larger audience, and to not receive, feedback there. It's almost like the experience of letting go, and you understand that what the work is bigger than you, and it has nothing to do with you. And whether or not feeding back is happening, is the work is still needing to get out. It will reach people when it reaches them, because it lives somewhere. So that's the growth of not knowing how the work is being received, as well as the quickness of how I needed to translate my inner world and thoughts and the stillness that I have cultivated over so many years into actual words leaving my lips and my breath so quickly. It's been scary, but it's done. And then my mind obviously has expanded, because the spontaneous insight sharing is just because I've had to weave my inner intellectual knowing, my research, psychology learning, my mindfulness knowledge, and into everyday language that can easily almost translate in real time. It's almost like classroom emotional intelligence and creative communication had to literally just come out of me. So that mind expansion for me has been mind-blowing, and sometimes almost dysregulating, because sometimes I didn't have the opportunity in time to listen to whether I can hear myself. But the work is done, and the intimacy of radio. So I think just one thing here for me is that radio has this, it's an ecosystem of energy. So here I've had to learn just to build myself of self-trust and presence. Because everything here has an invisible thread. There's an invisible thread that connects you to listeners, and quiet moments they are busy with their lives then you're trying to catch their attention. So here I've just had to literally say to myself, you have to trust that what needs to happen is happening, and that's the end of it. And then my voice is an instrument, and understanding that it's not just about sound but also the frequency of the vibration of my voice's tone, intention, and my emotiveness. So my voice here as an instrument I've learned to consciously use it as both understanding and embodying and accepting that my voice as a healing instrument has been humbling. To learn that my voice is and can be, and accept that it is a healing instrument, that has been humbling. And I think I'll leave it there with the 938 interaction key takeouts. And then in terms of the Gen Zs, there was so I think for me to get to this part of having to consider how one prepares, records, and reflects on the meditation context and details, the Gen Z community is an entirely different generation when it comes to their worlds and what they have access to, and their life and worldview and experience is totally different from so many of our generations. And this I have to give to one of the 938 presenters, Lesang. I think we were on the financial wellness meditation, and he mentioned, okay, so I think it was after post meditation, Lesang mentioned something around he's imagining what and how a Gen Z would have received that meditation. And that sparked for me a consideration that, in fact, I doubt that most parts of the financial wellness meditation details and context would make sense to them, because some of it spoke to generational trauma, ancestral trauma, and patterns that we've learned and inherited from our parents, how we relate to money, and because they have so much access to it. And when he mentioned that, I was like, At some point, I have to sit with the real question to say, if the Gen Zs are listening, how do these meditations land with them? Do they feel seen? Do they feel heard? And does the language maybe sometimes float above their heads in relation to their lived experiences? So it's made me want to find ways to reach them, because I don't think that it was a coincidence that sat with me in my heart and it didn't leave, because I love the Gen Zs. I love children just in general, and I love, observing and listening to their minds and how they see things. And it's sitting with me because it matters to me how we hold them. So what I'm sitting with right now is it's making me find ways to reach them. And even if it's not through the traditional meditation sessions and how we, the traditional way we meditate, but through something that, whatever it is that can attend to them, because they need tending to. Well, everyone needs tending to, but particularly Gen Zs need a particular accent to navigate, to help us connect with how they navigate the world, because their world is faster, it's louder, it's more digital than it's ever been for us before, and wellness must meet them there. They can't be left out. I don't want to leave them out. Their realities of how their online identity, their hyperconnectivity, their climate, their anxiety climate, social comparison and self-definition totally, for me, asks that for a different kind of space holding. So now I'm sitting with it, reimagining the tone, the pace, the context, and examples that I use when I structure meditations to make this practice feel like home to them, not like homework. I want to find a way to make mindful